Hey guys, welcome to Deep South. Today we're going to take a little tour all around our edible landscape here at Deep South Homestead. Guys, 4 years ago we set out to make this an edible landscape, and we have done it. Y'all, every space here has something to eat. The grass is growing, of course, in different places, and you got to overlook some of it because, we haven't mowed this week and we don't weed eat a lot, and some things we're just letting grow just because we need the seed and we need something going on here. So we're going to take a tour all around our edible landscape. This is some of it's going to be natural that we're letting grow. Some of it's stuff we've planted. It's all things we can harvest from. Every plant here has some type of benefit, and I'm not even showing you all the weeds and stuff that we have that is very beneficial. We have an abundance of those, believe me. I'm in the blueberry patch right now. I'm trying to pick blueberries. I started early this morning filming. We're going to jump back. I'm going to show you what all from this point, from the beginning this morning to now. It's probably about maybe 8:30. I've been going since 6. So we were out watering plants at 6 o'clock this morning. And we've been picking peppers. I'm picking blueberries. It's just crazy. So for all of you that think we don't have a lot going on, oh yes we do. There's a lot growing at Deep South. We do have some things that are not doing well, some things that have produced, our green beans have produced well. They're just having their issues. They're not as plentiful as they were most years, but they are growing. To fill in with that, we've added the rattlesnake beans, and they are growing. We're hoping that they produce some. That gets our quantity up to what we need. And so I'm going to show you around. You're going to have to overlook saws, dogs. You hear them in the background? They got worse earlier. If for some reason you can't hear me on some videos, I may have to do voiceovers, and I'm sorry about that. But that's just the way it is. Here, I'll film. We'll see what it goes on and see how the films turn out, and we'll edit it out, guys. I'm sorry. So, our edible landscape. What do you think? Deep South set out to do it. We did it. Some things do better than others, and some years one does better than the other. This year we have lots of apples. Very little figs on one tree. Lots of figs on another tree. It is just crazy. We have apricots. Loaded. Had a freeze, no apricots. Plums were the same way. So, next year, we may have an abundance of all these things if we don't have a late freeze. So you have to go from one year to the next. Whatever grows that year, that's what you go with. And the next year, maybe the other thing that did not grow will do and produce. And I'm watching birds jump all through my stuff here, and I'm fixing to have to go get them. It's always something here at Deep South. So enjoy this walk around Deep South, and I'll do the best I can to explain what some of the things are, either while I'm there or over the dogs and stuff. Thank you guys from Deep South Homestead. It is hot, it's humid, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and this will probably take me most of the day to kind of film, but I've got to go water the sweet potatoes. We're going to show you all that's going on around. It may take a while. Deep South is a big place, guys. First we have the porch. We're growing pineapples on the porch, of course. And we have some in other places, but right now this is Pineapple City. This is my candy corn plant. I don't see any blooms on it right now. It was blooming all winter. I see little spots fixing to bloom again, but it's doing great. So all our plants on the porch seem to be looking pretty good right now. This is one of our peach trees. It was loaded with peaches. These are the white peaches, but the freeze got most of them. I don't know if we're going to have a peach at all on this tree this year, but it is beautiful, and it does shade my greenstalk somewhat, and right here at the front door. This is my herb garden. Overall, I did an herb garden thing on Crazy Days. The herb garden is looking pretty good. I'm not even going through everything. You want to know about the herb garden? Go to Crazy Days. The plumera right there stayed in the ground all winter, and it's back out. It's looking great. I was afraid I'd lost it, but no, it's doing good. All around our peach tree is our garlic chives and some mint. We have mint growing all over and some peach sprouts coming up that we've got to get out. Here's our Greenstalk planter. I have downed a lot of things in it. The 2 tomatoes are still going. I will down them shortly. But I took a lot of the leaves off. Between worms and bugs, they were getting it. Stink bugs were getting into everything. We tried spraying. We tried everything. It wasn't working on this plant. But this plant, I had a few bugs get on it and a couple of worms. But overall, this plant still looks healthy. And this is a 3rd plant that I've put in there. So we're going to let this one grow and we're going to take this one out. I've added basil, strawberries, Malabar spinach in several of them. I've got a little bit of Malabar. We're going to see how it does. Okay, we're going to try in the next couple of weeks see what's going on with the carrots. And we'll probably rearrange the Greenstalk enough, get rid of the big tomatoes, leave the small one, and see what we can do with it. This is the orange tree. Right now, we have oranges all over it. We're trying to keep it watered. I know it likes hot weather, but you can see the leaves are kind of funky looking in spots. So we're trying to water it. It's probably got about 25, 30 or more. Oh, well, I can see more than that. Maybe 40 or 50 oranges on it, so that's pretty cool. This is our walkway going up to the back deck. The monkey grass, we call it. I don't know what other people call it. It's just a grass that grows on the sidewalks. It flourishes every year. And yeah, we've got some weeding to do on the other side. But it does really, really well. Got plants here, hydrangeas, everything but Cherokee tan pumpkins. I planted them here on this. I do have 3 Cherokee tan pumpkins that are coming up. One here, one right there, and one right here. So they're doing great. The yarrow, you can't kill it, guys. It does really great. All kinds of yarrow in here. Danny's grandfather's fig has figs on it. Lots of little ones coming on, but we have, these were before the freeze. They came on. So we're waiting on those, but lots of little ones coming on. Here are some of our cucumbers I planted, growing like crazy. Little cucumbers starting, blooming, doing awesome. We like this I guess you call it a teepee type pole for them to grow up on. We have 2 pecan trees, one here. As you pan around, one here. They have really grown in 2 years. They're probably close to 16 to 18 years old, and they are doing awesome now. Not sure how many pecans are on them, but there were quite a few last year. And the mimosas, we've got one there, and I'm standing under one. I don't know if I can do it any justice. I'm not sure how much you're going to see of this because of the cloud cover and the way I'm posting it at 6 a.m., but isn't that awesome? The mimosa has many benefits. It's not just a pretty flower. It does have calming benefits. So check out the mimosa. We have quite a few around here. All right, our big fig tree. It is not as loaded as it usually is, but we still have figs. And I'm thinking it may come on late because look at the little ones. We're usually picking the end of June or July, 1st of July. And see, we have different sizes. So I think we're going to have a good harvest. It's just going to be different stages because of what happened with the weather, but I think it's pretty awesome. This pear tree, I don't know how many's on it, but one poor lone little pear right there. It's usually loaded. I see one ever so often. Ah, yes, so that side must have froze. This side, look at it. Isn't that pretty cool? So we'll have a few pears on this tree. All this side seems to be pretty good. I see pears everywhere. This pear tree had lots of blooms and stuff, but it froze. This was the moon glow. So again, probably little to no pears that I see on this tree. This one always surprises us. Just when we think there's no pears, you see it in all that leaves. So thinking it's going to be okay. It usually produces pretty abundantly. I see some pretty good size way up there. So I know there's pears hidden in there. This is my asparagus bed. Look guys, grasshopper, but fresh asparagus still. Not crazy? And it's looking awesome. I try to keep the weeds out of it somewhat. This one will be ready to harvest seeds before long. They're green. One's starting to turn, but we will have asparagus seeds from this bed. This is our muscadine vine, and under it I planted mint. And guys, you can't tell where the muscadine and the mint, one stops and the other starts. Isn't that crazy? So anybody that needs mint, just contact me. We have plenty. We do have little grapes in there. They're all in there. So it's doing great. These are our scuppernine vines, and behind them you'll see mayhaw trees. Mayhaws have fell off. We got a few this year. Scuppernines, putting on a few grapes there. We have one post that's down that's got to be replaced. Behind it is a catawba tree for catawba worms. These trees you see here are plum trees. This is our Stowell evergreen sweet corn. It is tossling. We had some winds yesterday. It toppled some of it over because of the sandy soil here, and it's planted so close. We lost a few that's been over, but not too many. We're hoping to harvest some sweet corn out of this within the next 2 to 3 weeks. This is a crabapple tree that Danny, I guess it came up wild because of wild crabapple, but he grafted an apple tree in the middle. So look at our apple tree growing. So it's a self-pollinating tree. Once the apples start growing a little more, he's going to trim these bottom crabapple limbs and let the apple go. And over here, some of our pineapples that we have going, banana trees, and banana trees. Some of our banana plants, I guess you would call them. Along the sidewalk, we have all kinds of flowers and things planted. This is the pineapple ginger. Makes beautiful plants. Not necessarily edible, but it's pretty. It was from Danny's mom's house, and we really like it. We have azaleas, all kinds of prettiness out there. Crepe myrtles. The roses have quit blooming. And I don't remember what this is called, but it's blooming like crazy. This garden here is where we had our potatoes. We have actually planted a couple of rows of Danny corn. We're going to see how it does on the top. We were going to plant the whole thing in sweet potatoes, but we were having issues with the draws. I've just watered this morning. We're probably in the 100-degree heat index every day for the last 5-6 days. So we're having to water them, trying to keep them saturated. Hopefully, we've got 4 rows of sweet potatoes here. Not near enough for what we wanted, but we're going to see what it does. Let's go look at the other sweet potatoes. All right, these are the first sweet potatoes we planted. There's 4 rows here. They are doing great, but the weeds are going to catch on. We're fixing to plow these again. It's amazing that plants won't grow, but weeds will. But these 4 rows are doing pretty good. We're hoping to have sweet potatoes out of them. As you look around Danny's trees here that he planted on the base row and out below, these are the oak trees that he planted. I don't think he lost out of 50. I think he lost maybe a couple. So they are growing well. These are some peach trees that Danny planted on this hill 12, 15 years ago. They've got peaches on them. Some of the peaches fell off after the freeze, but the majority of them are still hanging. We've got quite a few on these 4 or 5 trees here. This is our hickory nut tree. It is loaded. The one hickory nut tree that we know of in this area. I mean, it is just totally, totally loaded. This is some of our bullgrass, or yucca, as some people call it. It's fixing to put on blooms. You can see the tall stalks beside it. And we leave patches of this around just in case. Our apple trees are starting to put on green leaves that we put out here. We have one here by the cabin. We have peach and apple trees all down this part of the garden. They are growing. The tomato, I think this is one is a yellow pear, and I think one is a blue indigo series tomato. It is doing great in both of them in this container. And the reason I say blue indigo, look at this. Look at that. Have a blue tint to them. These are going to be awesome. We have our huckleberries that we left everywhere. We have a small fig tree that's growing here. So we're turning this into kind of a food forest back here. And we have our garden here. In this garden, we've been trying to keep some of it watered. We have asparagus. We have squash, beans, sunflowers, basil, tomatoes, corn, cucumbers, watermelons, different types of peas and beans, different types of squash. We've got it all here in this garden. And it is doing pretty well. It's under shade, which is saving it. And this is my candy corn, guys. We just fertilized it and all, and it's looking pretty awesome. So things are growing somewhat. And look at this. My first squash. And there's other squash. There's more blooms. Tiny squash on some of these others. So the cabin garden is starting to produce. We've got a few green beans. We've got tomatoes on all our plants. I think the cucumbers are blooming. So there's going to be a little bit harvested out of the candy corn cabin garden. We are going to be trying to develop this. The cabin is right here. So this is all behind the cabin. Trying to develop this into a food forest back here. I've already gotten a moringa right here. We've left a bunch of the huckleberries. We're leaving some of the wild grapes. Many of the natural things we are leaving in here. Persimmons, all that kind of stuff. We're going to be leaving some of that. But we're going to come in and clean yopons, things like that out of here, and leave the beneficial herbs and bushes and things like that and plant more. So this will be our cabin food forest eventually. So here are some more of our banana plants and ginger. I have about 5 different types of ginger on the place, and both of these are more ornamental than edible. But this one makes a beautiful white flower. I think it's the Hawaiian ginger. And I'm not sure on this one if it's ever flowered. It's just a beautiful patch of ginger usually. These are containers that we grow the butter peas in. We've had to replant some, but most of them came up all the way down, and they're doing okay. They're fixing to start running, and so we will have butter peas this year if it doesn't get too hot on them. We have these two persimmon trees, one here and one there, and I know I'm looking into the sun, so I'm not sure if you can see that, but that one's taken off. It's gotten really big. I think it might even have some small persimmons on it. In front of it, we have asparagus all along. So this tree is not as big. It's kind of just stunned because they were root bound when we got them. So they've finally taken off after about 3 years. So that's the containers, the asparagus, and the persimmons. All along, everywhere in our yard, we leave huckleberries. We have huckleberry trees left around all of our trees. One of these is a holly, and we leave those because the birds really, really like holly trees. In the distance down there, the pretty tree you see in the middle is a willow. The only willow tree we know that we have. Willows are great for propagating plants and stuff. You can put some of the bark or the leaves in water, make a tea, and stick down starts in it, and willow will help the roots to grow. It's awesome. So that's the one willow tree that we have left. We were given this olive tree as a gift a couple of years ago, and it is growing really well. It was only a couple of feet tall. Now it's growing well. I don't know that we have any olives on it this year, but the freeze got a lot of our fruits. Everything had bloomed out, but the tree's hanging in there. We have a muscadine that we planted here. We're going to put a trellis in the middle. It started to grow pretty good, and we're going to trellis this up. Here we have a peach, and over there an apple. And at the other end of the garden we have a couple of apple trees. This is our elephant garlic. It's time to harvest. We're going to get it out of here. And we have a few onions there that's got to come out. This is our okra. I can't remember which kind he planted. We've got a little bunny rabbit that's eaten a few of them off, but looks like a perfect stand of okra. Got the Egyptian walking onions that are doing pretty good. We've got to finish cleaning around and get them ready to walk. They are starting to put on their little, I guess, I don't know what you call them, but where they walk. They put these things on and they reach down to the ground and they start walking. It's kind of cute to watch them. This is my lemongrass. It is taken off. You can see we have a whole border of lemongrass. In about a month, month and a half, this stuff will be waist high. Makes great teas, added to Asian dishes, the roots, things like that. This is our entrance into our garden, and you're going to have to excuse the saws in the background, but they decided to crank it up just as I started doing something. These are trellises. We've already cleaned English peas off one. We've planted rattlesnake beans here, and we're going to come back and plant over here. These were planted in a space that was empty. Nothing grew here, so we planted these a month ago. They're doing pretty good. We just cleaned this yesterday. Going to add back to it. These are the rest of our English peas. The diseases got them this late, the heat. They're done. Always done by now. And we're going to clean these and replant some type of growing, vining peas or beans. These are our Blue Lake green beans. We have already picked and canned about 3 or 4 5-gallon buckets off these. We'll probably have another 5-gallon bucket tomorrow, or maybe a little more. You can tell the leaves are already taking a beating with this heat. We've already pulled out lots and lots of leaves, and they are still producing. Still got lots of beans in there, but these will be over after the next picking, maybe 2 pickings if we're lucky. We have a little more garlic that's got to come out. These have not totally died down and fell. The wind got a little of it, but it's not done too much. And at the end, we have some tomatoes. This tree right here is a flowering crabapple, but guys, it is loaded. Our animals love these things. Any squirrels, birds, possums, you name it. They love these little things. These will make some great jelly too. So this one tree produces thousands of crab apples. It helps keep the animals out of our stuff. When you have plenty of stuff like this around, like these crab apples and other things, that is one blessing. And these, no matter what the weather, these have always produced a lot. We have 2 giant mulberry trees. These put on the large mulberries that are about half the size of your finger. This one and that one. They were loaded. The freeze killed all of them. We got maybe a handful of ripe mulberries off these this year. This is an overview of the back. We have a lot going on here. We're just going to kind of walk through and see what's going on in this part of our yard. Here by the house is our giant peach tree. I almost forgot to mention it. And I see peaches. Hold on, guys. We have peaches that are almost ready to come off. That is pretty awesome. I see some. There's one in there. There's not a lot that you see. Some of them fell off, but the ones that hung on, look at this. We're going to have some peaches if we can keep the squirrels out of them. They get to this stage, and then we have to fight the squirrels for our peaches. Isn't that beautiful? Just knowing that you have a beautiful, nice, fresh peach almost ready. And there's probably 10 or 12 in that one spot right there. It's pretty cool. I'm thinking this one we're going to take off pretty quick. It's not quite ready. It's got a spot right there, but hey, it's beautiful. We'll probably take this one off today. And under our peach trees, we always have our garlic chives. We've got mint growing here, so we keep a variety of stuff to detour things. It doesn't mean it always works, but sometimes it does. This is an apple tree that Danny grafted several types on. The very base of the tree is a golden Dorset, and if you see, he's grafted Anna and Ayn Shamir on, and I'm not sure which is which, but it's 3 different types of apples on one tree, and this one side bloomed out, but the freeze killed it. It's coming out at the base again, so we should have 3 different apples on one tree. And again, at the base, garlic chives and some leftover red clover that's ready. It's gone to seed. And we just scatter it, and we have more clover next time. This is one of our strawberry beds that we have a top on. We're still getting a few strawberries out of it. They're still okay. We're going to redo this whole bed come October. And yes, there are weeds around it. Nobody's weeded lately. But look at this. This is our main apple tree. It is loaded. Again, we hope we don't lose a limb, but this thing just overproduces sometimes, guys. It just thinks it has to. Just pretty awesome to have a tree. And what's crazy, this side over here is limited in apples. There's a few, but this is the side the freeze got. So there's not that many. There's like one apple there on this side, I guess you would say. But that one spot here, the freeze got all in there. And the two sides ended up with plenty of nice apples. And we usually harvest these, I think in June, the end of June, something like that. They don't get real big. They're still green. They don't turn. But they're an awesome apple for making pies and just eating. This is our second strawberry bed. We've never built a top to go on it yet. Again, in October we'll be redoing these. The weather is getting some of these. When it starts getting hot, these start trying to die back. So we'll just keep them watered as much as possible and see how they do. Try to keep them alive until October. This is one plant that I'm really proud of. It is a pomegranate tree. We're hoping to keep it going and have pomegranates one day. We got it from a lady that she had 12, 15-foot pomegranate trees with giant pomegranates hanging all over it. She lived about 10 miles from us, so if she can grow them, we're hoping we can. This is one of our carrot beds. The water, the flood, washed 90% of the carrots off. They were all up, looking nice, and it just uprooted them and washed them off. So we're going to have very limited carrots here, but you can see the purple sweet potatoes, even though we did not plant any, there was enough that they're coming up, and we have slips. Everywhere we can, we are leaving crabapple and persimmon trees. And so these two are here because we did have a regular apple tree and it died out. So we're leaving the natural ones. They seem to do better. The tomatoes, we put down this row cover, planted them. They're hanging in there, guys. These are not the best tomatoes we've ever had. We've had tomatoes 10 times taller and more beautiful, but these are loaded with tomatoes. So we will see how they do on this floating row cover. This is the other carrot bed. Again, about half carrots, half weeds. A lot of the spaces got washed out. We have more purple sweet potatoes coming up because we planted some in these beds after the carrots were gone last year. But this year we decided to try summer carrots again. So this bed will have some carrots. It's got to be weeded and cleaned out, but we've also got to get the slips out of here. On this trellis is our tame blackberries. We've been picking these for the last little while, so all the way down is the tame blackberries. This is one apple tree that blight just hit it really, really bad. Danny had to trim it back. Probably will not get any apples off of it this year. And we may have to cut it down and start over, but the blight hit it really tough last year. And we have the chives all under this. Here we have another fig tree. We planted this a couple of years ago. This baby fig tree is loaded. We can keep the animals out of these. This tree has lots and lots of figs. The petunias, they're just growing wild. If we leave them, we have petunias everywhere out here, and it gives them color. We have pinks, purples. They're just some white. They're just gorgeous in here. They compete with the tomatoes, but that's okay. This has got to all be weeded out, but I'm waiting to make sure my ginger comes out. I've got some starting right here. And then the turmeric down there is starting to come out. Once it does, we'll weed all this so we can see what's what. Right now we are starting to get little cherry tomatoes. They are starting to turn, and they are just loaded up. So this seems to be working pretty decent for them. And we're liking these little cherry tomatoes. Here we have a rosemary. At the other end of the trellis we have rosemary. This is some of our cane that we have. We have one row that did really, really well. The other two rows are just kind of sporadic, but we still have some of our cane. It's doing pretty good. This is a mulberry tree. Tiny, tiny mulberries. But this thing produces thousands of them per year. This year, the freeze got it just as they were ready to turn. This tree was totally covered in mulberries, ready to turn colors when we had a late freeze. So no mulberries this year. And that brings us to the blueberries. We have been picking blueberries off these 50 trees for a couple of weeks now. Fighting birds, as you can hear. The birds love to fuss. We've gotten at least half a gallon a day, some days maybe a gallon. These are 4-year-old trees, maybe 3 to 4-year-old trees. And they are looking awesome. We'll pick a couple of more times. Some of them have almost quit. You can see here, most of them are turning. So once we pick what's on here off, there's not going to be many left. And the birds really like them, so we have to usually get out here as early as possible. And on the hill behind us, now most people don't think this is a lot of up and down land, but the land goes up that high. Our cane mill is up there. We planted a chestnut tree here. That's a chestnut. And over there, 2 chestnut trees and a peach tree. Trying to get them to grow. This is the beginning of our hugel bed. Our ground comes down. I am standing down, so I am level with the ground up there where our garden is. It is probably level with the top of my head. So it comes down that much coming through, and this is where we had damage. It's washed down here. So it comes all down these hills. This is why we put this hugel bed or this swale or base row, terrace row, whatever. This thing 3 years ago was 1.5 feet higher than it is now. It keeps washing down. But behind it we have a banana tree. We have peaches and apricots planted on the backside so that as the water hits this, it drains in and they get watered. And they're doing fabulous. It's just that the freeze killed most of the blooms on all of them. The apricots were loaded. Here's an overall view of the blueberries from this side. Again, I am standing at the base of the hugel bed. I'm standing here, I can see over the tops of the blueberries, which means it is probably a 2.5 to 3 foot drop from where I am down to the blueberries. And then it goes down, if you can see here, this is where the water ran. It drops 10 feet or better on the other side and runs through. That's the natural spring. And then the hill goes up and you can see the cabin in the background. So we're not on a mountain, but we are on unlevel ground. And on the back side, like I was showing you, behind the blueberries, it's a 3 foot or 4 foot, 3 to 4 foot different incline from where the cane mill is down to where the blueberries are. And this is where the containers are here. These we have not done a whole lot to. We have some onions and comfrey. We planted some sweet potatoes for draws. Down on the other end, we have cucumbers growing on trellis. This has just been a work in progress. We will plant some late crops in all these once this heat subsides and we get a little rain next week. These are the apricot trees I was telling you about. They're beautiful, but not an apricot on them. And these, just natural oaks, all here in our front yard. This is the one area, I guess, that we do have a lot of grass. This and a little bit of the backyard. And guys, the road is 2 foot up from where I am. I'm holding the camera. It looks like it's flat across there. No way. It drops from the road to here almost 2 to 3 feet at least. It's just a steady decline all the way down. And that's why this hugel bed has washed. And we're just letting the grass grow over it. We're not going to try to build it back up right now. We might in the future. The other end is still built up. It still catches water and runs it this way, and that's what we wanted to do, was divert it from going back in the back. And my raspberries are behind it. The raspberries need a little bit of work. We've got 2 posts down on them that's got to be fixed, and they need to be re-trellised, but I am getting some raspberries from them. You can see they're going everywhere. These are the wild raspberries that are full of briars, so it is hard to handle these and try to trellis them back up, but this is a project that we're going to be working on this summer to get it back on its trellis and looking good, because you can see they're blooming like crazy, and I'm getting a few little red berries on. This is a view of our containers from the other end. The hugel bed catches the water coming down. These containers stop it from just washing, and this is one way we keep water from ruining the road behind it, is the containers are like a catchment system for a lot of the water. Here where there is no containers, you see how it's washed through here, and it's just washed all the way down. So that is one thing that we're working on, is to fix this last spot where the water doesn't go through, where we've got the lighter pile. It's catching the water and it's not letting it just ruin our road on the other side. Here's one of our maple trees. This is a silver maple. The leaves turn a silvery white in the fall and kind of fall off and look silver on the back side. The tree in the middle of the sidewalk there is a sugar maple, and it looks beautiful and awesome from this side, but we lost 2 years ago, we lost the whole other side of it. Sugar maples aren't supposed to grow this far south, but that one has done fabulous. And throughout the yard we have a variety of flowers, stuff just here in this area. It's real shaded, and whatever grows, when we plant it and it grows, we just leave it. And last, our huckleberries. We transplanted these huckleberries 4 years ago to the sidewalk because we wanted to be able to walk out and pick huckleberries up and down the sidewalk. Some of them took a couple of tries to get something to grow here, because transplanting huckleberries is very difficult, but we've got huckleberries and I get to pick here. We've got flowers planted in between, and it's just kind of a natural setting with the wood behind it, the lightered, and we just love this entrance to our house. So guys, I hope you enjoyed our edible landscape here at Deep South Homestead. It is always a work in progress, but it is beautiful, it is edible, and there's always something year-round here at Deep South to munch on. I've had fresh asparagus, peppers, blackberries, huckleberries, blueberries. We've got peaches almost ready. Apples be ready in a month. You know, every month there is something to munch on here. So it is pretty awesome. We've got tomatoes, green beans. Just finished up the English peas was last month. So like I said, something always here to eat at our edible landscape. So thank you guys from Deep South Homestead.